Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have John Lunn on the line, and he's CEO over at Gravy. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, John, see a lot of big names here, especially in the payments industry, everything from CyberSource to PayPal Ventures and now Gravy. So when we think about the payment industry as a whole, I do want to get into your background and some other things, but just in general, like how did you get into this industry? Like how'd you fall into this?
Complete accident, like most things. So I actually started my
Sounds like
career as
my
a marine.
podcasting career, John. Go ahead. No.
I started my career as a marine biologist, unbelievably, and then I
Wow.
couldn't find work, so I taught myself to code and just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And
Really?
yeah,
What was
just
that?
as e-commerce was starting, I just happened to be there, and they were looking for someone who could do what I could do, and yeah, just fell into it, and it never looked back.
What made you get into the coding part? Like, okay, marine biology, was there a crossover there? I'm just not seeing that piece of the connection because you learned to code because you couldn't find a job. But what made you do that piece?
As a kid, I was brought up in the mountains in Switzerland, and there wasn't an awful lot to do when there was no snow. My dad one day brought home a Sinclair PC, before PC, so a
Oh.
Sinclair ZX81, and I fell in love. So I loved writing code and making it do things, and then but I also loved the sea and that. I tried that for a bit, and when that didn't
Uh,
work out, I'm like, you know what? I just like writing code. It's fun.
what did you like about the writing of code, especially in the early days? Like, because you were doing it for so long, this it's just so it's just different. It was a different world back then. I'm curious on like the vantage point of like what drew you.
It was really like making something. I've always liked making things and,
Mm.
you can make furniture, you can do all that kind of stuff, and code almost get instant gratification because you can make a change and see an effect, and I just enjoy that. So the idea that I could make something work by, myself and see, like,
Whoa.
it cause and effect was huge to me. But also, I have to be honest, it was laziness as well. I think the first ever code I wrote was a way to write thank you letters for Christmas. So my parents every year would make me sit down and write thank you to all the aunts and uncles that sent me presents. And I wrote a piece of code that would print out a letter for each of them without having to write them myself. So there you go.
Oh my gosh. This is but if you think about it, you were solving problems. So I know you said laziness, but you found a way to solve problems, which is like the root of a good business. You found a need, you made something. Hold on. So you were almost like the automation guy before that was even a term, I think. You're like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
automate this. I'm gonna automate my Christmas cards. Done, Dad. Now what?
exactly. Exactly.
I have a tree now. No, I'm just playing. No. Automate that kid. No, sorry, John. Oh. All right. So these names I see. So PayPal Ventures, CyberSource. Give me a like we'll fast forward the story a bit here. Give me some of the background that led up to Gravy. So now you're obviously on this path. You start going on here. What leads up to Gravy?
Yeah, so like the kind of history of my interactions with payments, like the first company I joined, CyberSource, very early, it was probably the first internet payment company. And for
Mm,
me, the fascination was like, here's this new thing, the web, and people are going to want to buy stuff on it. And how do we make that happen? And the first problem is like, how do you basically take the world from which was essentially people writing credit card numbers on slips of paper and typing them into
mm,
point to sell machines to a world where you can do a checkout and all of that? And that was the big problem at the time, and it was great. And then so from CyberSource to PayPal, the problem then became, yes, you could do online payments, but as a merchant, to get a merchant account and be able to do those payments, you still had to put your suit and tie on and go down to your local bank and meet the bank manager and say, look, I
mm.
need to get in the merchant account and I'm going to sell stuff on the internet. And the guy would sit there and go, what the hell's the internet? And like I was really attracted to PayPal because they're like, you know what, we're just going to make it possible for people to sell stuff online, and they don't need to be traditional merchants. They don't need to be mortgaging their house to do inventory and all that stuff. This is a new world. And I love that about PayPal is it turned everyone into a business person. So I spent many
Mm.
years at PayPal and saw the sort of evolution of payments go on. And then the next thing that struck me is like it suddenly becomes so hard. And so I was at PayPal doing a variety of technology things. Then I moved into the venture team doing
Mm,
investments. We were investing in this cool payment tech around the world. And I was just seeing this really slow adoption by retail and merchants. And I started asking questions like, why? Why is this so hard? Why is it so hard to add new payment methods? Why is it so hard to go international? And why is it so slow? And so I started asking the clients essentially that question, why is this so difficult for you? And it turns out that when you start running your internet business, your e-com site, you have one developer that might do an integration to a company like Stripe or something
mm,
like. But as you get bigger, you start to add other payment methods and you start to look at international and you basically start to add more and more stuff into your payment system.
mhm,
And that this gets bigger and bigger. And one or two things happen. Either you have to throw loads of people at the problem. And so the big tech companies with lots of funding, they're able to do that. And you've got
right,
his main job is to sell music with these 100-person tech teams building payment gateways, which
mhm,
doesn't make any sense to me. But then you've also got the more traditional retailers. You've got 6 people with a 5-year roadmap, and they never get anything done because they're so busy trying to just catch up. And it just
right,
struck me and the rest of my founders like, hang on, everyone's building the same thing. They're basically building what we call in England a router and what we call in the US a router to send payments where they need to go. So why don't we just build that? Why don't we build that as a tool that we can give to any retailer merchant in the world that allows them to add, remove, change payment methods, change payment companies, fraud companies, all of that without having to write any code and without having it to be a sort of a technical debt. And that was the
mm.
genesis of Grape.
I wanna stick in those early days just a little bit longer because some of the younger audience that's listening right now, is it a trip for you just to think about? I still remember when I was a kid and it was like, you can't buy something online. They're gonna get your credit card number, this, that, and it was like my parents, it would have been the death of me if I bought something online using a credit card. But if you fast forward from then to now, like, how do you look at the world of that? It's just amazing. I'm just so like, through your eyes, what does that look like to you? Did you see this coming?
Yeah, I mean, look, it had to happen.
Wow.
You were sitting there and you were waiting for that website to load line by line painfully, your
Yeah.
paper-like phone, and eventually you'd get to a payment form at the end of it. And things people bought at the beginning were probably not the best times of the internet, but that's what
Mhm.
people wanted to buy online. And from there, it slowly became physical items. I worked on companies like Boo.com, which was kind of the first sort of digital clothing retailer out there. And
Mm.
last minute, first digital travel agent, and all of the rest of it, and you saw it coming,
Wow.
very quickly, and the AOL would send you a CD in the post, but then one of the first
Mhm.
things they asked you when you loaded that CD up is, "What's your card number? Because we need to take some money off you."
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Wow. Now you look at it and it's like you can't move without getting a card somewhere, and I'm like
Yeah, exactly.
so getting into gravy. So where did gravy why was this the solution? Like, how did we get to this point to where we're at today?
So I mean, because this whole thing's grown very fast and very
Mhm.
organically, the whole of payments, right? And it's grown in different countries, and because of different laws, because of a whole variety of different things. You basically ended up with this world with, every payment company has its own API, own connection. Every
Mhm.
payment method has its own way of doing stuff. And essentially the problem was thrown back at the retailer. Like if you want to accept PayPal and cards and 3 other things, you're gonna have to write 4 different APIs and manage that and deal with how the payment flows and then you're gonna get poor Doris in accounts to sit there and try and work out where the hell's the money and how it matches to
Mm.
items that we sold. And that, you know, as every new payment method came out, that just got more and more complicated for the merchants. So like Gravy, the idea here is like, let's just put an interface, let's put a layer in there that deals with all that complication. So you don't
Mm.
have to worry about the different APIs, the different reports, the
Yeah.
different setup. And for you as a merchant, if you want to go and launch in Japan, it should take you a day. It shouldn't take you like 8 months of engineering time. And it really is
Mhm.
like it's happened across me. That's what technology is for, right? It looks at a problem, adds a layer on it to make it simpler. And
Mhm.
as payments went on, you just need more and more layers to keeping it simple because payments gets more complicated.
Mm. And I'm curious then, like, especially transition. So you were obviously started as an investor, became an investor, and now a founder. Like, what gave you that confidence to to take that leap and to go that route?
So, I mean, when I joined CyberSource, there was 30 something people at the company. When I joined PayPal, there was about the same number of people at the company as well. So
Amazing.
both those companies
Is there
felt
any
very small.
correlation to companies that John joins versus how big they no, I'm just that's awesome. Hey, you want work for Mission Matters, John? No, we can't afford you. Don't worry. Keep going. Keep going.
But it just I really like that early day of the company. I really like I
Mm,
mean, it's very similar to what I was saying about writing code when I was a kid, right?
mhm,
It's the same thing with a startup. You wake up every day knowing that everything you do makes a difference. Right,
mhm,
and I think and that is I enjoy that far more than the sort of the big company business, and I when I joined PayPal, as I said, there was a small amount of people. When I left PayPal, there wasn't, and I realized I was getting more and more further away from the things I actually enjoyed doing with the impact I wanted to make, the bigger the
mhm,
company got, and going back, I absolutely knew I was going it was gonna hurt like hell to be a founder again, or be
mhm,
in that founder space. I'd worked with a lot of founders, running the PayPal venture
mhm.
things, and you can see the pain in people's
Signing
eyes. You
up for
see,
pain. I was just gonna use the word T. You gotta get that pain. Go ahead.
but even then, like, it's worth it, right? It's worth it
Mhm,
because you are doing something that actually feels like you're making a difference. And I don't want to say to the planet because that's, grandiose, but actually you're making a difference to someone and something, and you can see the
absolutely.
difference happening every day. And so I always wanted to go back to be a pounder, and I was lucky enough that my career, there was the right place, the right time. COVID hit. I was sitting in an apartment in Canada thinking, what am I going to do next? And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start a company. So that was just, it just happened. Right things fell in place. And, I've not looked back since. It's been a hoot. I love it.
That's amazing. I do like to hear the other side of those stories. Like when we hear about, obviously, nobody's happy that COVID happened, right? But I just mean that Great Depression or like a tech wreck or 2008, like the housing crisis, like all these things. Like businesses were started during those times too, as well, that are thriving
Absolutely.
now and that have completely added to humanity and to hopefully better a lot of people's lives. I love that. So bring out crystal ball time, John. Let's bring out that crystal ball. For fast forwarding 5 years or so, whether it's regarding consumers and merchants, like what are some things that are going to be possible that maybe seem kind of unrealistic today?
I think we cannot underestimate the impact of agentic commerce. And I
Mm,
think it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but it is
mhm,
real. The idea that, you will have AI agents doing your shopping for you. You'll be able to basically have these like personal assistants going out to,
mhm,
you want Taylor Swift tickets, you want them on a certain night in a certain place, and you just say to your agent, go deal. And off it goes and arranges it all for you. Or you want to go on vacation somewhere, you need a hotel, you need a flight, you need a car, you happen to be a vegetarian, so you need vegetarian restaurant choices, and you just say, hey, go and deal with it. And off it goes and does what it needs to do. And I think that world where things we spend time doing every day now just comes seamless and invisible. And I think the shopping experience is just completely different, right? And
mhm,
it's fascinating. You look at AI and the two fastest growing user group are the younger generation, the sort of Gen Z, and then it's the over 60s. Because the over 60s look at AI and think this is much more like talking to someone. And I prefer talking to someone than trying to find my glasses and look at a website. I'm getting
mhm.
close to that. And they're much more comfortable to shop using it. Right. They like the idea of saying, "Oh, okay, I like that. I would like to buy it now," and have an agent deal with it is actually works. And I think that we look at it today, and I know I was on a panel the other day, and one of the panelists was, "No one will ever do this." I'm like, "You are completely wrong.
Oh,
Everybody will."
that's like saying people wouldn't once upon a time, people wouldn't do their mortgage online, right? Or like all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
nobody's ever gonna make their housing decision. It's like, yeah, once somebody says that, you already know it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when John joins the company, we already know it's gonna happen. It's all good.
Well,
Uh,
I think, like, that is gonna be totally different, and I think
mhm,
the world is gonna be hopefully a better place because I think you'll have more time on your hands to do things you wanna do rather than
mhm.
things you don't.
I'm excited about it personally because when I see some of the things like what you just mentioned and in general, for me, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that feels that they don't fall in this category, but I'm gonna say for those that are doing the work, whether it's people, brands, or otherwise, and that are laying like really solid foundations, what I like about this is it's very hard to be a faker out there. Like AI is too smart. If you're out there just putting up a pretty picture, a pretty this or that or whatever, but your reviews aren't up or whatever the other side of the conversation is, like you're gonna get found out. AI is gonna
Yeah.
know. Like it's gonna so you have to create quality if you want to be found. Like you're gonna have to. Like some like once upon a time and every different thing you could think of. Do this for SEO, do that for SEO, do this for whatever. Like all these other things, they were all invented to, in theory, get people to get the most valuable choice to be on a platform, whatever that is, and to create some type of value. So if these
Yeah.
agents are helping you, whether it's a shopping decision, whether it's a leisure decision, whether it's what podcast you're going to listen to, whatever it is, like if you're
Yeah.
putting in the work, and if you're thoughtful, and if you're really thinking about the end user, whether that's a client, a shopper, whatever, insert whatever term there, like I feel like these agents and just where things are going, like you're going to be rewarded, and some of the people or things or whatever that's a little bit subpar, you're gonna have to step up your game or it's just not gonna work too well depending on what industry you're in or what you're doing. Like, that's the way I see it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the a purview of the rich at the moment, right? Is you can afford a personal shopper and you can afford a travel agent and you can afford this and that. This makes it available to everyone, which is
My
like,
dream when I was a kid, John, I had one dream. I was like, I want a driver one day. I don't really want to drive. Uber. When Uber came out, true story. I have a car again, but as soon as Uber came out, this is a true story. First time I rode an Uber, somebody told me I'm sitting at a restaurant and I'm like, they're like, "What? An Uber did?" I went home, I drove my car back home, and then I took an Uber back to the same restaurant and I was like, I think I'm gonna sell my car. I'm pretty much done
wow,
driving, I think. I lived in Beverly Hills. I was like, my whole world was like in a 3 to 10 mile radius. And I'm like, yeah, and I probably got rid of my car, I don't know, a month later or something like that, and didn't drive for
yeah,
years in Los Angeles. And then I finally at some point I was like, okay, I probably need to get drive again for certain things because I had some because well, doing this business, I'm like, all right, this is getting a little complicated. But other than that, I was like, I wasn't super wealthy, but now I had a driver. Oh, this is cool.
yeah.
Oh, John, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show today. For those that want to follow up, learn more about Gravy, and connect and follow your journey, how do they do that?
Best thing just to go to our website is www.gravy with a four, no, gr4vy.com. And please just contact us through there. That's the best way. Or send an email to info@gravy.com. We'll be happy to answer.
Wonderful. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can click on the links, head right on over and connect. Speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So, again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And, John, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.